Greetings, good people. This is Bast DeLuna, part of the esteemed sisterhood of the Syndicate on a brand new and exciting platform called Becoming, featuring the magical mystic herself, Rain. So I'd like to get into a topic today that has been kind of prevalent with me, and I wanted to perhaps give a new and different perspective that might help somebody today. So I am extremely honored to be considered a spiritual coach by some people, and the topic of aloneness comes up quite prevalent in our discussions, especially when we are just beginning to go down the road of self-discovery. I just had a couple of really poignant conversations with some beautiful souls, and it kind of hurt a little bit. I'm an empath, I can't help it, to hear their perception of themselves and how they feel so alone in the world, and which in that aloneness gives them a sense of hopelessness and destitution, if you will. Both of them express these points, and although I believe that everyone on this path, especially if you are pursuing a more spiritual path that is alternative to religion, mainstream religions like Catholicism or whatever the religion is, we tend to feel ostracized in our means of thinking. No matter what is going on, we can't necessarily be in alignment with everything that's being presented to us, and how we are supposed to maneuver in the world. I think that everyone, myself included, has felt that in some way, shape, or form. But what I've come to understand is that the idea of aloneness in itself is a little more complex. I'm not going to say it's complex. I'd say it's more, it's just different than what people perceive it to be. So let's get into this. The fear of aloneness is what is most damaging. Again, being ostracized, being called a black sheep, not understanding that, or not understanding that your perception of different things, different ideals and modalities, belief systems, may differ from the people that are around you. So you feel like you are out of step, out of touch, out of place, with everyone around you. But I must address the idea in itself of aloneness, and is that it's kind of a illusion, if you will. Meaning we are never, ever, ever alone, ever. Just to break it down to scientific, to science, everything around you is energy. We have energy in our space, whether it be plants, whether it be animals, whether it be, but most of all, sorry for the sirens in New York, but most of all, it's our spirit that keeps us company, if you will. I've said this before, and I can't emphasize this enough, that we are actually spirits having a human experience in this world, meaning we are all connected And we are literally just in these bodies for a short period of time, having the experiences that we're having. So being that we are coming from spirit, we have a sense of oneness that connects us all. It is actually the first principle of the universal laws, that the law of oneness. We are all, and that is including our ancestors. It's including, spirits or deities that you might find yourself in alignment with. We are always connected. Therefore, it is impossible for you to be alone. But that aside, alone is also a state of being. So you can be alone without actually being alone. I know that sounds weird. Let me put it this way. So we're never alone. I'm in this house by myself, except for my cats, which are here. So I'm actually not alone. But being alone is actually a state of being that we have to aspire to. It is a state of meditation, if you will. It is a state of receiving. So spending time, being intentional in being alone is actually serving, self-serving to your spirit. If you're coming from the religious point of view, we are taught to spend time with God, and most of us are spending time in prayer, meaning we are, in constant communication. But in that time, how often are you spending just listening, just being mindful of your body, being mindful of your thoughts? Those are the times that, when you settle your thoughts down and you are able to just be in the moment, that is the moment of receiving. That is how we are receiving communication from the prayers that you are putting out. So aloneness is not necessarily a bad thing. It's actually a tool that you can use. You are never alone. However, you can spend time in your thoughts, which is a state of aloneness, which is self-serving to you. It's just unfortunate that aloneness takes such a negative, it's such a negative context. And I think that it comes from societal standards imposed upon us that we're not always able to follow. And what I'm talking about is like when it comes to, the context of companionship. So let me get into that. While we are never alone, we can feel lonely. Meaning we want that physical companionship. Maybe we want a friendship kind of companionship. Maybe even the interaction professionally to kind of stimulate your creativity or whatever. That's a state of loneliness that is, it's normal. It's very normal, and it's easily remedied. But the thing about it is, we get aloneness and loneliness a little mixed up sometimes. And in our loneliness, we tend to take in a lot of parameters that are presented by societal standards that, tell us whether we are even capable or whether we are deserving of companionship. And what do I mean by that? I mean like certain moral clauses, if you will, like how women present themselves, meaning if you are conservative, if you don't, show too much cleavage, if you are, covering yourself up, if you got that respectability standards, then, perhaps you are worthy of companionship. You would be a worthwhile companion for someone. It's absolutely not the truth. and men are actually privy to that too. If you are showing too much emotion, if you are not presenting yourself in the most masculine way, you can also be demonized for it and told that, oh no, he's absolutely not one to for a companionship or whatever. He's not a good companion. What we have to do is decide to let go of these constraints that are put on us. It's kind of, well, it's not kind of, it is programming. And this programming it comes in so many different forms and facets, between the television, between, magazines or whatever, social media, of course. All of that can be kind of weaponized against our state of being. And if we fall into it, we start to believe these paradigms. It's not the truth. Those of us who decide to follow our own spiritual path, whatever that might entail, and go against the grain, choose to accept ourselves as we are. So I know that I've always been kind of an oddball, and I would be in certain spaces with certain people and I just smile because I know that outside I can kind of present in a normalized fashion. However, the way that my brain thinks and the way that I perceive things is a little bit different, and I wouldn't necessarily, present that to people. If I were to feed into those paradigms, I would think that, yeah, me being an oddball is a problem, and I am alone in my oddball fashion. But what I've learned, and thankfully at an early age, I was able to understand that it's not that we are only supposed to adhere to one standard. We are spirits having a human experience, and we are so multifaceted as humans. Humans are multifaceted, very, very complex creatures. So understand that you are not the only one who perhaps thinks in, a different way than where you were brought up. You didn't necessarily buy into the moral clauses that were presented to you from a religious standard. Understand that there's always another person or a group of people that thinks exactly like you. So actually it takes you branching out, and if the people that you are not around, that you are around, be it family members, be it spouses, whatever, do not necessarily gel with your ideas, you can always find your people elsewhere. I've been extremely fortunate to find all kinds of beautiful people that don't necessarily adhere to societal means, societal constructs, and they, we gel well, we understand each other, we commune in such a way. And while we are spiritual people having a human experience, we are also communal creatures, which goes back to, again, not being alone. We're never alone in spirit, but we're not supposed to actually be alone. It's good to spend alone time so that you can receive and grow and, enrich your perspective. But when it comes down to living an enriched life, you got to find your community and understand that your community is always out there. And that goes from professional, likes and dislikes. So there are a gazillion groups on Facebook that'll tell you exactly how to find your community of like-minded creatures. But between professional, between personal, if you are into gardening, if you are into designing houses, if you are into personal sexual kinks, there is a kink for everybody, and there is a group that enjoys the same kinks that you do, I guarantee it. So I'm gonna wrap this up, but I just want to really, really enrich your perspective and let you know that aloneness is a state of mind, but it is not a state of being. You are never actually alone. If you are feeling alone in your mind, make use of it. Commune, with your higher self, commune with the Creator, whatever you are in alignment with, God, Allah, whomever. Use the time to commune. And whatever you feel like manifesting at that time, that is the perfect time to do that. And I guarantee you, once you go looking for your people, they will absolutely find you. I am Bast DeLuna. Thank you for listening, and see you next time. I hope this helps.